Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Professor Princess, SoundCloud, SoundClick, my neighbors, Rusty. No, I'm done arguing with you, Rusty. But I wanted to talk about this Kanye West thing some more. Uh, G-Shock. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this Kanye West thing some more. It's just been on my mind because everybody's been talking about it and going through this whole Illuminati thing and how, Ye pretty much bought into it. Death rituals with his mom and, all the people who've died because of the system. And the system is ran by the Ascasians, the Jews. And, there's supposed to be a spirit, over it named Baphomet and all this other stuff that people talk about. I'm not sure if that's true, although I know everything you do has a spiritual connection, has a spiritual content to it. So, yeah. But as far as what Ye is saying and who he's speaking out against, him speaking out against, Beyonce, and I've already talked about how I don't listen to a thing Beyonce says or does. I can care less. And Jay-Z and his, Rockefeller entity and dynasty. But even what's deeper into that, Jay-Z, he follows the readings of Aleister Crowley. And for those of you who don't know who Aleister Crowley is, I don't have a whole dossier on him, but if you look him up, he was a rich dude who pretty much was an atheist. He was into all kind of stuff, but his biggest slogan was "Do what thou willeth." And if you start getting into the spiritual side of things, when you look at, if you start looking at the will of God and then the will of man, you'll learn very quickly, do what thou willeth is pretty much saying that, don't listen to what God says, and do what you want to do, you know what I'm saying? And then you start getting into, Satan and devil and all this and how he is opposing God and, those two kings going to war and then you being stuck in the middle. So there is a deep spiritual connection to what is going on in music and in the movies. Look at all the people that they off in the movies and look at how they kill them. They always kill them by some type of drug, or they say that they hung themselves and things along that line. When people started speaking out against the system, that's usually how they die. They either die by pills and they say they left a suicide note, like Robin Williams. I'm sorry, I just have problems thinking that Robin Williams killed himself. And you got, Anna Nicole Smith. There's no way her and her son killed themselves and, all this nonsense. But this is the industry that you're in. Like I said, it's ran by the Russian Ascasians, the Jewish people, not the Jews, the Jewish people. And it's just very deep. And when you speak out, when you start raging against the machine, you're looking at, like the police came and got Ye right away. They handcuffed a man and, took him to the hospital just because said he was dehydrated. Give him some water. Don't handcuff a man and take him to the hospital. Just take him to the hospital. He wasn't going off on people, and beating people up. He was just speaking his mind. So there's a whole system that people need to be aware of as far as what is happening to Kanye West. And why you shouldn't listen to the radio. Not unless the radio is talking about like Christian music and stuff like that, uplifting God, and not so much Christian, because when you start looking at the Christians, especially the early Christians, they were some mass murderers, and they still are today. So you really got to be careful of who you get into as far as so-called Christians is concerned. And then look at the early Christians during the time when Christ was actually on the earth, and you'll find out that Christ never called himself a Christian. Like, those people weren't Christians, you know what I'm saying? The Jews, not the Jewish, because there were two sets there. The Jews were the people who came out of Mesopotamia. The Jewish were the people who came out of Russia. So, you know, you have two different sets there that you need to look at. Anyways, getting back to Kanye West, that's up to you guys to look into. It's a lot of information, and you should really reckon, like, the radio is very dangerous, and Kanye West was going off about the radio. Now, when you look at the radio and sound scan, and then look at TV and ads and all that, and and sports and all that, you realize it's all ran by the same entity. This is what Kanye is speaking about when he was talking about, FU radio. He was going off about the radio because, and he was going off on Beyonce. All that was because Beyonce is locked into the system like Jay-Z. Beyonce was talking about she's not even like, if she doesn't win, she was going to, have an activist attitude towards it. So she's expected to win. It's just like when people were talking about Iggy Azalea and how Iggy Azalea's, all of her numbers are pretty much fake, and how she paid for those numbers. Iggy Azalea was never a great rapper, but she was talking nonsense, and this is what they want to hear. So this is what they put out in heavy rotation. So you guys, like I said, look into that stuff because it's a lot. And what the radio's doing, and you notice certain people get played, and a lot of negative music they put out. Young Thug, Birdman and all his crazy people, Lil Wayne, they push that because they talk about violence. You know what I mean? But when you talk about positive music, you notice how neo soul is not a lot of people don't listen to neo soul like they used to, because neo soul is talking about positive vibes. It's talking about loving people. You know what I mean? You notice, all the black leaders, all of our black leaders are gone, and the black leaders that we have now, they're not worth a damn. Like Jesse Jackson, just Al Sharpton. Come on, man, it's just not even possible. We barely got Obama, and we held on to him for 8 years, but nonetheless. A lot of the music is put out there to put black people in disarray. And that's exactly what it does. That's why our women's asses is out everywhere when the Bible clearly says dress in modest apparel. You know what I'm saying? That's why everybody wants to be a thug now. Nobody wants to respect each other. They don't even respect their elders. Like, I mean, it's terrible what black music does, but this was created in the 90s to break up our unity, to break up our communities, to get us to go against each other. And it's all, a lot of it is based off of the Willie Lynch letter. When you start reading that letter and see what they're talking about, put the younger person against the older person, put the female against the male, it's all in there. And that same system is still alive and thriving today. I know this video is long, but it's just so much to it. Like, you really got to guard yourself. You got to pray against a lot of this stuff. Like, I was talking about defensive prayers. People casually pray, oh God, no, prayer is a serious thing because it puts a barrier up around you and your family, and it protects you from a lot of these negative spirits, a lot of this negative energy that's coming out through your radio, through your TV. I mean, and people are eating it up. They don't know. They're watching these sports, and they're watching, they're watching the Kardashians and all this other trash. They don't realize that they letting these spirits in their house. You know what I mean? I even have to be careful because I watch World Star Hip Hop all the time. Sometimes I can't watch what's on there. I'm like, I can't watch this because I know, like, I feel my spirit being offended by what I'm looking at. So I'm just telling y'all now, what Kanye West is talking about is way deeper. It's not casual at all. It's serious. It's very serious. And there's a whole bloodline that's into that. Like, there's a spiritual bloodline that's being followed, and a lot of people die because they don't want to be a part of the system anymore. They don't. They here today and gone today. And like I said before, do not be surprised if Kanye West leaves this earth early, like next month, on like the 25th, right on Christmas. Kanye West has died. Look what happened. Look what happened to Whitney Houston and her daughter. Like, people, it's real out there. It's real. Look at Michael Jackson. Look at how they did Michael Jackson as soon as he started coming out and talking about Sony. When he said Tommy Mottola was the devil, Tommy Mottola is Jewish. You you know what I'm saying? He is Jewish, people. Let's get it right. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to talk about those people. You're not going to talk about Ford Coppolas, and you're not going to talk about those people and think that something ain't going to come after you. Sony came after them. Look at what Prince did. Prince did the same thing. And how did he die? He died from some type of drug overdose. They killed that man. I'm telling you, you cannot rage against the machine. Once you get into it and you getting your money from them that deep, you can't do it. They don't care what I say. Nobody's checking for me. I'm not making no money off of them. But somebody like Prince coming out and talking about them and telling the truth, they deaded him. It's your boy Tone 202, man. Be careful what you listen to. Be careful of these crappy movies that they put out. Be careful of all that. I'm out.